messages are real. This is not something that is artificial. It's not something that we read about in a book. These messages are powerful enough to not just change your mind, they're powerful enough to change the world. We absolutely positively know that because our worlds have changed as a result of what we're getting ready to talk about. Today, I have a partner of mine with me, DeMario. How are you doing, man?
Doing
Yeah,
good.
yes, sir.
Doing good,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
B. How you
I'm blessed. We said that we were going to do this, and now we're doing it. So anytime we do something that we said we were going to do, it's a victory in itself. I used to never do anything I said I was going to do. So I want to kind of go back in time. First and foremost, introduce yourself to the people out there. In we're going live to so many different platforms, but introduce yourself to the people out there and tell them why are you doing this right here today.
My name is DeMario. I met Mr. Bill when I was incarcerated in Rockdale County Jail. The reason I'm here is because I'm here for recovery, here for the process, here to gain knowledge, here to keep this thing going, keep my sobriety going, and me being here at this place has helped me so much. I wouldn't even know if it wasn't for this place, man, I'd probably be doing what I was back doing, you know.
And so I want to thank you for sharing that, Demario. I say that to say this, and we met almost a year ago, and like you said, you were incarcerated. So we take programs into several jails. We take programs in on Tuesdays. We go in Rockdale County on Fridays. We go into Rockdale County on Tuesdays as well. We go to Gwinnett. We do that online. Um, a lot of people think that what changes people is pure curriculum. And don't get me wrong, I am an advocate for the material. I'm an advocate for curriculum. I'm an advocate for recovery based deliverables. I also am an advocate for we are the evidence, and inside our pathway that got us here is a lot of information specific to that pathway that will get other people here as well. I know that all the time that I was popping sockets and making buck and all those things, I vividly remember what my mindset was, and I am acutely aware of the information that I did not have. I remember what I was thinking about. I remember what my goal was. My goal was probably how to become a better criminal. It wasn't about changing the behavior. Of course, I didn't like the situation, but I had no vision or no information about how to change. Everybody was just saying, stop doing what you're doing. But if I stop doing what I'm doing, then what do? I have no idea. And that's a void. I know that people talk to me, well, do you have a social security card? Do you have an ID? Where are you going to live? Da, da, da. All of those things are extremely relevant, but I understand to a certainty today, if I don't change on the inside, then the outside is just cosmetic. So I want to ask you um during the time that we were able to engage, I remember the first time you walked into the room.
I remember too. I remember.
And one of the things about people who have spent a lot of time in those high pressured environments, whether it's the block, whether it's the hood, whether it's the bullpen, whether it's the jail, whether it's the penitentiary. One thing we have this acute focus and awareness because your life depends on it. So one of the things that allow us, we sort of have this sensory that identifies what kind of animal that is that you're engaging. You understand? Because we live by that code. Um, so when you walked into the room, there was absolutely it was certainly no doubt in my mind what kind of animal I was engaging at that point. Um, I want to ask you a question. When you walked into that first group, how did you come in? How did you come to the first group you came to?
Um, when I was in Rockdale County Jail, I was in the RSAP program, and I was talking to an inmate like I was gonna take the program serious. You know, a lot of inmates took the program to not go to prison. I volunteered myself to go to get the help, and it's a substance abuse program. And we was talking about that, and he told me, he was like, well, if you like the RSAP program, we have a recovery program. This guy named Mr. Bill, he comes in every week or whatever. I was like, all right, I'll check it out. You know what I'm saying? I only can help. And from when I went in that Friday, I seen Mr. Bill come in. I walked in. As soon as I walked in, he said, what's going on, young man? I said, what's going on? He was like, you need anger management. And for somebody that didn't know me, for 5 seconds, they hit the nail right on the head, man. And just from the first second I met him, man, he helped me out. He taught me, gave me wisdom, and gave me words of encouragement. So I always look forward to going to his class every Friday.
And that's something that I think a lot of people take for granted, that consistency, because we want people to be consistent, more consistent. We want people to show up. We want their attention, et cetera, et cetera. Do we give them that same attention? Do we give them that same regularity? Do we give them that same respect? And one of the things that's very important, and in all the years that I've been doing this, I've gotten some incredible skills. Shout out to the Georgia Council for Recovery, formerly the Georgia Council for Substance Abuse. Shout out to Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, Psychiatric Rehabilitation Association, where I got my CPRP, Georgia Council for Recovery, where I got my CARE certification, or Certified Addiction Recovery Empowerment Specialist certification, or Certified Peer Specialist AD. Shout out to Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, where I got my Certified Peer Specialist for Mental Health, where I got my Certified Peer Specialist for Forensics, which is a person formerly incarcerated, Certified Peer Specialist for Whole Health Action Management, et cetera, et cetera. It was during those trainings that we understand the powerful tool that is language. We understand the power of connection. A lot of people think that the opposite of addiction, or the opposite of suppression or depression, is I don't know, something, but it's really connection. And a guy that was sitting in one of my groups many years ago, he hit the nail on the head, because he said to me, everybody's going to connect with something. It might as well be this, right? And so for me, having spent almost one third of my life in prison and being 65 years old, you can do the math for yourself. I've just got a lot of experience on how to be frustrated, how to mess this up, how to um, how to make soups and pop sockets and fill out commissary sheets, and um, play cards and do back arms and all that stuff. Um, I know that one of the things I noticed, that when you came into that group, you sat in the front. And I noticed, because behavior is very important, and all that, I noticed that after that, every week for 10 months, I don't know how many weeks is in 10 months, but probably about 40. Right. And so, um, voluntary. You volunteered to come. You sat in the front. You took notes. You asked questions. And so let me ask you a question. For you, as you sat in those groups, what was different about those type of process groups versus the other groups that you had been in?
You,
Yeah.
the instructor, the person that made it comfortable and to know where you came from and where you are now.
Right. Right. Right.
Made it comfortable to accept, that it's a problem, and to know that recovery is a process.
Yeah. 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 And I know that you said all the time. You said, you know what, Mr. Bill? Oh, when I get out, come into Grit and Grace. And I've heard a lot of people say that, but you actually did it. So help me understand why. Why did you actually follow through?
Because it helped me so much when I was incarcerated. Like if it could help me this much while I'm incarcerated, I can imagine how much it'll help me once I'm out and I'm free and I'm really doing the same thing, really on the same page, really focused, really doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
And I think about all the people that are pessimists, All the people that say, "Oh, they'll never change. Leopards can't change the spots." Da, 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 da. And this is the thing. I'm amazed, and they say in the program you'll be amazed before you're halfway through. Um, I want to ask you a question. And one of the things that I saw for you, like you said, you volunteered to go to RSAT. My program doors open, come and go. Why was this change so important to you?
because I didn't want to come back. You know, you always told me if you want better for your life, you can't expect change unless you're willing to change yourself.
Right,
That
right.
was one of the main things that you said in the classes. So that always stuck with me.
Yeah, and so this is the thing. What were some of the things that you took away from the classes or the groups or whatever we're going to call them, from those interactions or those dialogues? What were some of the things you took away that made sense?
One of the main things was seeing your story, seeing where you came from, and seeing where you are now. Another thing is, like I said, making me feel comfortable with wanting and needing help.
And so one of the things that we learned early on in some of our peer support deliverable training is that if people don't feel heard, respected, and connected, then we're missing the mark. Um, I, I know that as we would sit in there and we would have dialogues and feedback and obviously, and I always said this when I go through the groups, because I'm very selfish, because I probably get more out of it than anybody. The commitment to change, to be doing something that is beyond your wildest imaginations, to be going into an environment that once used to own you, and you coming in and you own your own masters and you come back to set other people free. That's unprecedented. You know what I mean? And so I say that to say this. When you decided, at what point did you decide to actually, I'm asking another question. Let's go back because we want to get a little insight because people are probably saying, why did he say he needs anger management? Let me ask you a question. If we go back in time, way, 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 way back, what would be three words that you would use to describe your darkest days?
3 words I would use to describe my darkest days. Uh, Probably angry. Then know I was my own. I was my own biggest critic.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
um, even though that wasn't one word.
yes. No, no, actually,
um, and just fearing success, really.
yes, yes, yes. So when you say angry, help our viewers understand what does that mean? What did that anger mean as far as a being that's existing out there in the world? How did that anger impact you? How did it impact the world? How did it impact your outcomes? Where did it come from? Kind of explain that to people. Because I'm sure a lot of people walking around with ice grill, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Strapped or trapped, you know what I mean? So explain to us what does that mean when you say angry?
When I was angry, it always was a bad outcome. Didn't know how to talk to somebody. Always had stuff built in. Didn't know how to change my surroundings. I always thought that I was just stuck in it.
Yes,
Stuck in a mental state.
yes,
Knowing that, and that's right. Here's another thing that I got out of your class and out of our side as well. Your mind and your thoughts. That's the first thing. The actions, the first thing when you speak, the first thing to when you do a lot of things. So if you change your mental first, that's the first point of changing your life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember very vividly because when you say it, I'm obviously it's very familiar to me because when I'm angry, so I get angry outcomes, right? If I'm angry and anger is my state of being, then my resolution skill is coming straight from the negative. Probably with fire shooting out the end of it. You know what I mean? But that's what anger means for me. And for some people, if they are angry, there's fight or flight. Some people are flight. Where we come from, and place to flight too. So if you're angry, fight is the word, right? And our fights no longer were behind the barn with the old things. We would, yeah, you understand? And the stupid tax is enormous with that. So let me ask you a question, Mario. What is it that made you say, I'm going to come across from the dark to the light? What was it that really made you say, you know what, later for this, I got to get this right this time?
Um, when I heard about when I heard the victim talk about how the way my actions impacted her life in a bad
Yeah,
way, and after that, after I left from court, I went back to my cell and I just prayed.
yeah,
You know, I prayed for forgiveness, prayed for to change my ways, to change my mental, prayed for help.
yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And I think about how much of my life where I said I didn't yell, right? And I did, right? So I commend you for that brave step because admitting that not only is there, I'm a major contributor to it sustaining itself, So,
My way didn't work out.
well,
My way didn't work. So
absolutely, absolutely. So, and I heard you say that some of the things that you identified that would help you make that transition with RSAT, the recovery groups, and prayer, all those things. I wonder, because I think about how I reprogrammed my mind, how I got that psychic change, and then how had this voracious appetite to get new information. And once the inside of me got right, once the inside of me got spiritually connected, then all information became revelation, right? And that's when you're lit. That's when you're headed for the league. That's when we really double down on our commitments. Because when we double down on our commitments, we double our rewards. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, you're living in the overflow. I know that in our groups, I showed you guys a lot of very actual, concrete information that validates that this is real. We went over budgets, we went over just accomplishments, we went over branding, we went over a lot of different things. Um, I think another one of the powerful things we talked about, both of us being fathers, I have an 8-year old, you got what, two,
10 and 11.
10, 11-year olds. And that's probably the most crucial developmental time, other than those early moments, those early years, for us to represent. And I just encourage everybody out there that can hear the sound of my voice. And I do these groups in jail, and I hear a lot of people dressed in orange, and I ask them what is the most important thing to them, and they say, my children. If your children are the most important things for you, then change is absolutely mandatory. That means because every time we go to jail, we take our children with us. Or when we go to jail, we leave our children behind looking for us, both of which are equally gravity defying for the young psyche. Where's my daddy? And we give him, oh, he's on work or he's on vacation or he's in jail again. You know what I mean? So, how important was your commitment to change for your kids, commitment to change for yourself? How important was that for your transition?
Well, first it was a commitment to myself, you know, changing for myself. And then it was for my kids and everybody else. The hardest thing it was for me to do was when I was locked up and I had to tell my daughters I couldn't make their birthday because I was incarcerated.
Yeah.
I never missed a birthday. This is my first time missing both of their birthdays. And I never wanted them to feel that again, you know. So I made a commitment from that moment, not only for myself, but for them. That's when I found out how much it impacts other people. Yeah.
Yes.
The
Yes.
children, the mother of my children.
Yes.
My mother, you know, she had to pick up some slack because I wasn't doing it.
Yes.
You know, it became it became a real life lesson
Yeah,
for me.
yes,
A
yes.
real life lesson.
And so that's why I admire your commitment. I watched it. It's not something that I'm guessing about, something absolutely that when I see people, that one of the things when we do our group in jails, the door is an open door policy. It's not like, oh, this is the list. Hey, these are the people that are mandated to come to group. It's like the door is open and whoever wants to come comes. And we've seen that room full hundreds of times. As a matter of fact, we've been doing groups in the Rockdale County Jail since 2020. And we had a break for the pandemic. That's the only time we took a break, is when the pandemic kept us from going in. So I've seen so many people, and this is one of the different things that I've seen as a result of having the privilege to do this. I've seen people who were in jail end up in the rooms of recovery. I never left jail and made any right turn. It was always all left turns. You understand what I'm saying? He left, right? It was never, oh, he's right. It was always he left. I just so admire and am so honored to be sitting here with you today. So I want to ask you a question, because one of the things that I think is relevant to this conversation. What are some of the coping skills that you use today? What's different?
What's different is the way that I think. Like I said, my thoughts was is the first thing when it comes to actions, when it comes to feelings, when it comes to words, the way you speak. Um, that was my main thing, changing my mind. Knowing that I had to change my surroundings when I get out, knowing I have to make different decisions, knowing I have to think about the decisions that I make before I act on it. And those were the things that I learned not only in our side, but in your class as well.
Right. And so one of the things is probably one of the happiest days of my life. People always, obviously I don't do this for the money, but um, one of the happiest days of my life was when you called me and said, "Hey man, I'm out." Right? A lot of people call, say they're out, but they don't say I'm coming. You know what I mean? They'll try to find a job, but I really encourage people out there to understand this. If simply getting a new pair of shoes, a new sweatsuit, a new girlfriend, or a new job, if that was what it takes by itself to just change a life, then a lot of people wouldn't be in recovery or need true recovery. Um, what is the what has been the upside? What was it like for you the first day you walked in? Now, one of the things that you kind of had an advantage, because I shared a lot of information about grit and grace. As a matter of fact, giving people intimate knowledge of the entire process. Let them know what kind of work recovery does. Let them know where this at. Let them know there's a place here for you. Let them know about those steps that it takes to get there, and share that information with them intimately, so that they will have a relationship and an understanding that breeds anticipation about, well, when I get out, if I just say, hey, we got a program, how many people say, hey, you need to go to a program? Now, the whole program ain't gonna work for me. You knew about the studio. You knew about the art. You knew about the groups. So let me ask you a question. What was it like for you anticipating coming here when you got out, and then actually coming and showing up?
Well, when I was anticipating coming here, I used to always see videos. You
Right.
used to always show me videos and stuff like that about what you were doing and things like that. And I was like, well, like I said, if it helped me this much while I'm incarcerated,
Yeah.
I'm going when I get out,
Yeah.
you know. And then once I had got out, the next day I came here. I think you wasn't here just at that moment.
Yeah.
I had met Miss Denise,
Yes.
and I was about to leave and come back later.
Yeah.
But Miss Denise, she came in, she asked me my name, she gave me a hug, she said we having a meeting. Then I met Miss Michelle, and I was like, this. I said, you know what? I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna see what this mean talking about. I'm gonna wait for Mr. Bill to come.
Yeah.
I was gonna leave, but I stayed, and from that first meeting, man, it been a true blessing just to hear other people's stories and hear other people's wisdom and advice.
Yeah.
You know,
And so one of the things that is our trademark is lions, tigers, and bears. And people think that when we say that, they just think of the song. But I encourage everyone out there with the most intensity, I encourage you to understand that people who have scripted and crafted their life based on survival, based on just some real negative principles, when those people start to seek recovery, they may not be coming to your church, man, because they feel ashamed, they feel afraid. And this is the thing: when we're not in the jungle trapped with those traps, or in the traps trapped, we don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable walking in your church and everybody staring at me. And everybody knows that I'm the sinner of all sinners. I'm not going. You know, this is what I'm saying. When we talk about support groups, if somebody would have said to me, "Man, you need a support group," like, you know what I'm saying? For real. So, what is different about recovery in a recovery community organization or in an addiction recovery support center? Or what is different about recovery in Grit and Grace from what you thought people meant when they said recovery?
the recovery process for me with Great and Grace has been more like a family
Yes.
than anything. And like I said, they give you wisdom, they give you advice, and not only that, everyone cares. You know, everyone cares about your recovery. Everyone cares about you as a person, where you came from, or where you can go. And just being here at Great and Grace, like I said, from the first meeting that I came in, you know, if I can make it, I'm here.
Yes. Yes. And to be heard, accepted, respected, um, regardless of who we were, right? Because a lot of rooms, if you walk into those rooms, and people say, "So, who are you?" If you tell them who you really are, even they all run out the door, but they're all acting really genuine. You understand what I'm saying? When they find out you're him, right?
Look at you at the side.
Yes, you understand. So what is interesting for me today is that lions, tigers, and bears don't have to go back into the jungle. This is like an oasis. This is a place that is self-governing because everybody here is. If you're here, man, you're exploring your why, and you're exploring what, and you have found where, and when is now, and um, the doors open, the closet's open, the house box is open. Ain't no hey you, you know what I mean? And what I found with that type of freedom breeds respect from the people because this is ours. It's not theirs, and we're here. This is ours, and I know that you and I talked about that when we moved from our and so everybody out there that doesn't know, we've been in our new location, state of the art building for about I don't know, a month. Gee, how time flies when you're having fun. And we talked about having a studio. We bought equipment. It just they kept it in the box for years, waiting for the day when we were going to be in the studio. So that me and you talked about we talked about being in the studio. So let me ask you a question. Does this feel like for you, this is our second broadcast from the studio. You being one of the pioneers launching our online platform that is video as well as audio. What is that like for you?
Man, it's undescribable really, because like I said, we talked about it when I was incarcerated and things like that, and just to see the process, see that it's here now.
And I noticed that you were in the art room. I see you, boy. I see you in there. What?
Yeah.
Putting that work in. So tell people out there kind of what that artistic expression. How does that? How does that interact with your recovery process? What is it like to be able to have a positive expression?
Um, it gives me something to do, something that I like to do, like the hustle that I had in if I was out on the streets and stuff like that. I can have that hustle and have that, you
Yeah.
know, with art and with clothes and things like that. me always being a smaller dude, hard to find stuff my size and things like that. Or I probably have an idea how would this look if I put this on here? Or how would this look if I put my own spin on things? And that's where it came from. Trying to make something look good, like with just a regular T-shirt, you put paint on it and it look like so good.
Yes.
People compliment you on
Yes.
it and things like that. Me being type of person I am, I like being kind of different. Not
Yes.
too different. If that what you like, that's what you like. But I've just always been the type of person that like being a little bit different.
Yeah, and what we have come to understand in today's world, it means you're a brand, right? And so when that brand flies, remember you already hear me.
This is where it all started.
So, but this is the thing, and one of the things that I just admire so much is that it gives me an opportunity to see you through a different lens. Because I'm sure if somebody would have walked up to you however many years ago in your native environment, the first thing they would have said was, "Ooh, you're so creative." You know what I mean? Get it and go, cousin. You know? So, having that degree of expression and watching you do the work and understanding that your commitment to the work changes this environment to meet that commitment. So if you do we need presses? Do we need you understand what I'm saying? Do we need all that stuff? Do we start manufacturing? Whatever that means, there's no limit because we said there's no limit. Right. Um so I want to ask you this. What is your vision now for what does freedom mean? What is your vision for freedom? What does that mean now? Because it's obviously different.
Peace, happiness, uh, more financial freedom as well. But mostly peace and happiness.
I know that when we were in jail, and you mentioned a couple things just now, so it triggers me. One of the things that we worked from, one of the deliverables that we worked from were the 8 dimensions of wellness, and because there was, I believe it's a poor rat that ain't have but one hole. You understand? And when I came in, traditional wisdom told me, "Oh, you've got a problem," and I didn't realize the power of language at that time. I was, no, I don't have a problem. I have an opportunity. You understand? And so I came in. I thought I had a drug problem. You know what I mean? Because I did do drugs, right? But I before I had a drinking problem, I had a thinking problem, and then I had a believing problem the whole time, right? When I changed what I believe, that's the reason I don't do crime, and that's the reason I ain't doing time. Because crime equals time. For all you people out there hearing the sound of my voice, haven't figured that out yet. Crime equals time. It's just a matter of moments between heads, or between commissary sheets, or between how many soups you can order. I just I am just so incredibly grateful that today I understand it's not about what's wrong with you, it's about what's right with you. And how do I become whole? How does my spirituality and my occupation and my emotions and my intellectual capacity and my environment and how do all of those things to work together in a positive with a sense of positive repulsion that allows me to become whole, not just a part of a person, not just a person who believes that if I put on a new mask, I'm a new person, right? So those dimensions of wellness, and you remember we used to go over those quite frequently. How did that deliverable give you insight on the process of recovery?
The 8 dimensions of wellness, not only just with the process of recovery that it helped me with being just a better person overall. Me knowing, understanding uh, the emotional side of dimensions of wellness, financial,
Yes,
all the sides of it. I had to I had to understand the meaning of all of them.
yes,
and had to understand how could I better myself with all of
Right, because what I used to think it meant and what I believe it means today changes the way I approach it. You understand? Because when I used to think what it meant to come up, that means I was putting in a different kind of work, right? So when I'm putting work in, not working, you understand what I'm saying? So when I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. When I realize today that I can be in a peaceful, positive universe, not a hostile universe, it changes my operating procedure. It also changes my brain chemistry. So I'm grateful for all you people out there, Radio Land, all the people out there that are going to see this video. I want you to understand that here at Grit and Grace, we have a tremendous opportunity to serve people, not just people who come in our rooms. Our platforms go all across the country. We actually go into the jails and because everybody says meet people where they are, and then they meet us, and then they're offended, right? Um, I just want everybody to know. And last month was kind of a slow month. Last month we had 2,891 engagements. What is an engagement? An engagement is at least 1 hour interacting with someone for the purpose of recovery. And maybe that happens in a room with 20 people, so that's 20 engagements, even though it's one group. But what I will say is that if in the last month we saw 2,800 people, I want you to understand that since 2020, we've seen over 60,000 engagements. I want you to understand, for everybody that doesn't understand the power of peer support, doesn't understand the power of connection, doesn't understand the unparalleled therapeutic value of one person who's had a similar experience partnering with another person who's going through that same experience to create a positive outcome. Just want to let you know that it happens here. I want to ask you a question. Um, and I hear a lot of people say when they come in here, there's a miracle in the middle of the room, and that miracle belongs to everybody in the room. Let me ask you a question. If somebody was to ask you what is written grace, what would you say?
it. Great and Grace is a recovering community. It's a family. Yes, you're not alone.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I was kind of not ashamed of coming to get help, but kind of scared at the same time. Didn't know what to expect, but from the first second I came in here, it felt like home. It felt like people here and felt welcoming.
Yes. And so, because when I watch it, it's a trip, right? So we're so used to, you understand what I'm saying? Well, it's amazing when I sit in those rooms and I see lions, tigers, and bears all in the same spot. You understand what I'm saying? I see people helping each other who may in real life wouldn't even have covered with each other. You understand what I'm saying? I see people that are able to see us in a light that doesn't have villainy, it doesn't have treachery, it doesn't have larceny. And it like you say, it's got love, it's got compassion, it's got empathy, it's got connection. I just want to say this in closing. I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
I want to say thank you for making this all worth it because a lot of people wonder why did they do it? What do you get? Right. And the way this thing remunerates itself is me seeing you sitting here. It makes it all worth it. It makes every Friday that I walked in, and a lot of people may think that, oh, it's yay. No, it's a labor. It's a task. But when you love it, it's not work. You know what I mean? It's about purpose. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. So with that being said, I know this is the second time you see us go live. We're going to be going live uh, virtually all the time unless Rob Rob can't follow us. Rob is our guy.
Shout out to Rob.
Shout out to
Rob.
Rob, man. But there's always somebody behind the camera. There's always somebody that makes sure the lights are right. There's somebody that makes sure the mics are right. Somebody that makes sure that this whole thing ends up where we're trying to get it to go to. And that person is not me. That person is Rob. You probably will never see him. They're going to the camera. But one day, we're going to spin that camera around. We're going to get Rob to tell you why he is selfless, why he has this commitment that this message goes out all over the world. Shout out to Hurricane Maine, Category 10 Entertainment, because these clips also end up going international on His Hop Network, which is digital radio. Um, just shout out to the Stepping Up Initiative, a national initiative that has been adopted here in Rockdale County. I was formerly the project developer for that initiative. And all of these things, let me explain this. There's some people out there that are really confused about it. All of these things, first of all, there's Kingdom Umbrella, then there's the Stepping Up Umbrella, and then there's ODR, there's Grit and Grace, there's the Restorative Justice Complex, there's peer support. All of those things are the same thing, and they're not individual things. The goal is for them all to work together. We always do gap analysis. We're putting something in between the gaps that is real. You can't separate it. If it's separated, then it's not working right. Anyway, with that being said, I'm not sure that message will be received well by those who believe that there is so separate. Anyway, once again, thank you for your time, man. Keep coming back.
Thank you, Mr. Field. Thank you.
Okay.